Hey everyone, Solsting is back with another tutorial for ClipStudio Paint. For this, I took this old file I've created 2 years ago for another tutorial for the sports car drawing, and I've really enhanced it with some nice tricks I've learned in the meantime, and I will show you these secrets. We want to add light effects, smoke, and also, and that's a special one, which I haven't seen around, is how you can use the correction layers in conjunction with different blending modes to unify and compress your image, so it will be a very cohesive and complete unit. It's really cool, so please check it out. Give me a thumbs up if you like it, and be sure to subscribe to this channel if you want to see more stuff like this. So have a look at this. This looks really colorful, so let's explain this. First, I have a layer group here, which you can see. I have my layers down there. I called it Make It Pop, and that explains very drastically and quickly what I want to show you today. And this is one aspect of using blend modes in ClipStudio Paint to finish your artwork. But what are blend modes exactly? Well, it's the mode that decides how the layer or the folder influences the image below. In this example here, in this layer folder, you see different layers, and they are not layers that consist of a shape. These layers here are correction layers. You will find them under layer and correction layers. If we double click on this layer, we see that we have different things that we can adjust. This one is a hue, saturation and luminosity layer. The blend mode is set to color. So this means everything I do in this type of correction layer, let's drag this a bit around. You see, it's changing, but it's only affecting the color. Let's see if I can darken the image with the luminosity. It's not happening. Why? Exactly because I have set this to color. So let's try and set this to brightness, and you can see that the correction layer now is affecting indeed the brightness of the image. So if I change the hue, it will affect the brightness a bit, and that's because let's set this to normal first and reset the luminosity. If I change the hue, you see we go through the whole spectrum of colors, and for example this light yellow here, of course if you change it to the opposite, which is purple, it has to become darker, because as we perceive color, you see in the color wheel here, let's size this up a bit. In the color wheel you can see that the lightest yellow up here is indeed brighter than the lightest purplish blue, so to say. And that's why it's affecting the brightness a bit. But the main essence here, or the gist of it, is that whatever you set the blending mode to, it will affect the layer, will affect the layers below, just in this specific mode. And there are a lot of blending modes, as you can see, and I will explain some of the most important for me. It's always a preference, of course, but there are some blending modes that are, in my opinion, more useful in day-to-day drawing sessions, so to say. Yeah. This one here is a layer group which is set to through, which is also a blending mode, but it's only available for folders. So through means that the blending mode you set in the layers is applied to the image below. But I could set this to normal, and what this does is it doesn't apply these layers here and their blending modes to the layers below. The through mode is a very important blending mode in my opinion, because it lets you put some stuff into a folder and categorize it or sort your layers a bit. So I've created this folder, Make It Pop, as an example how we can unify different elements in our artwork so it becomes one cohesive unit. Because what I've seen a lot is that with the whole layering system, people throw together different elements and it just doesn't fit all the time together. First, I have this hue, saturation, luminosity. You can use this to play around a bit and will affect every color here and just tilt it in another direction in the color wheel. Just try to play around with it. And you also have the option to reduce the opacity of the layer. So you can adjust how much the correction layer is affecting the image. So underneath this I have, if I turn this up, I have a gradient map, and they come in really handy in my opinion. So there are predefined gradients under sky, and you can create the gradient correction layer under layer, new correction layer, gradient map. As you can see, now I've created a new one where every dark color is mapped to black and every light color is mapped to white. So if I put this to color, and you can see that we turned our image into a grayscale image through this black and white gradient map. We can also set this to brightness. And if I turn on the mixing rate, you see I get different options to mess with. But usually I don't use like black and white in gradient map because there are better tools for this. But yeah, to colorize an image. So gradient map, let's turn off this right now. And now, of course, we have set this to brightness, the blending mode. Now let's set this to hue. Hue means that we get the hue of the color and not necessarily the saturation. If I set the blending mode to color, you can see that we also get the saturation of the color. So if you look at the image here, we have a very desaturated background and, for example, very saturated reds in here. And if I turn this on, we have this still the saturation of the red. Saturation for the beginners means from gray to very colorful, so in essence. If I set this to color again, you see that we get the full spectrum from black and purple, to yellow tone. So what we realize is that if we set this layer to the blending mode color, it takes the saturation and the hue. But if we set it to normal, you see, we also get the brightness of the gradient. The bottom line is that these down here, hue, saturation, color, brightness, are used to only affect a certain aspect of your colors. Here we have the hue, only the hue of the color, which you can see around here. So I've prepared an example, and that is a tone curve correction layer set to the blending mode saturation. And as you can see in this tone curve correction layer, I'm really messing with the red channel, also with the green channel and the blue channel. So you see, I've really messed around with the curves here, and that led to really nice results in the color. And if I set this blending mode to normal, you will see how drastic the effect is if it affects every aspect of the color. So to finish your artwork, I really want to encourage you to put in some correction layers like the gradient map or tone curve, and try out these blending modes on the bottom of the blending mode list, like color, hue, saturation, brightness. You can get some really unexpected and great results with this. So for this example, I chose to use the blending mode saturation because it gave me some really nice colors and color variation, which really spiced up the whole image and made it look more like a painting. And I like this colorful look somehow. I preferred it over the realistic look. And if we compare it without and with, we see that these dark areas here in the reflection of the car get colorized, and yes, some things pop out a bit more. Please keep in mind that you always can adjust the layer opacity to tame down the effects of these correction layers a bit, because it can become really colorful very quickly, and it can be a bit overwhelming to the viewer. So use these effects always very intelligent, and don't overuse them. That's my advice at this point. What I want to outline or to summarize for this first section is that we can use the correction layers in a layer folder to unify and compress our image and to make it a cohesive unit and a complete artwork. If you want to go more into depth and learn more about these correction layers, you are free to head over to my Gumroad store and grab your free package of an example file of this car image, and you can dive in and check out all these layers. And if you want to support me and spend a little more on this package, you get the full HD version of this car image, and I really would appreciate your support. So be ready to head over to the Gumroad store. The link is in the description. Also, just a quick notice, please subscribe to this channel if you like this video and if you appreciate tutorials like this. Now let's see what we can do with blending modes to finish our artwork. For that, let's have a look at the other folders. The first one is Effects, Lights. And as you can see, this layer folder consists of light effects, bringing in some image material of flares, lens flares and light leaks and stuff like that. And I will show you now
how you can do this. So you just, for example, this one here. As you can see, this one here is just an image, a neon bouquet, and you have to search for these resources. Just type in bouquet image or lens flare and Google image search, or on Gumroad or wherever. Essentially, I've put these into a folder again and set the blending mode to add glow. I set this to normal. You see that we have really we have the darkness because I've put a fill layer, new layer, fill on the bottom of this layer stack, and then I've added different lights. Here I have another neon bouquet image, but I've decided to go with this one here. Also some sparks down here. As you can see, I've put in a level correction layer on top of these light images, and that's to really darken the dark areas, because if I turn this off, you see that the dark areas in these image overlays are not exactly black, and that will be a problem if we turn this to add glow. You see that if it's not completely dark, we get this information in the add glow blending mode. So turn this on again. Yeah, the add glow or add blending mode, they're quite similar. Sometimes you can see a drastic change in the result, but most of the time they are almost the same. We could also set this to glow dodge, and you will see that it is lightened, but the color is intensified. So color dodge and glow dodge is usually for light effects that are really colorful. Add and add glow are more actually the brightness that is influenced. So I have set this to add glow. Also I've painted in, as you can see here, I've painted in some soft lights and reduced the opacity, so you can change this to your liking. And I've also set this to add glow because inside this whole folder these layers here are affecting each other. So I wanted to have these blurred out light spots, increasing the intensity of the already existing light flares. These, you see, you can just play around with it and adjust the image how you like it best. So I wanted it to be really light, but at the same time I wanted to show this edge here around the light. I didn't want it to blur it out completely. And basically that's everything there is to finishing your artwork with light effects. Just create a folder, set it to the blending mode add glow, and insert some images or light colors. You always want to insert a fill layer, new layer, fill, with completely black color, because then you can stack up different images for your lights, and as I said before, the color black won't get taken into account by the add glow. So the next step would be to disable this and have a look at the smoke folder, where I've put in some other effects. I've downloaded a cloud brush pack from ArtStation once, but there are a lot of other cloud packs like on ClipStudio Assets and so on. You can take whatever you want. Yeah, I use them to draw in some smoke effects too, so it doesn't matter if it's clouds or smoke or something like that. And what I did is I've set this layer folder to lighten, but for demonstration purposes I will turn this back to the blending mode normal. So this is how it would look if I just go in there and paint in these clouds with a white color. It looks okay, but for me it lacks a bit of, yeah, it lacks a bit of artistic vision and, yeah, expression. So one thing I would do is you could set this to add. The thing is, if you want to give color to something that has only like different opacity values. So have a look at this cloud here. We have very opaque areas where it's completely white, and then we have more transparent areas. And if you want to affect this with a gradient map, which is set to color again, blending mode color, maybe you remember, it doesn't affect the cloud at all. It only affects it if I put a black layer underneath it. That's because the gradient map, it always wants to have something from dark to light. And now we've created this. We put a light color on top of a dark color. And the mix here is what the gradient map uses. And I've set the layer folder to the blending mode lighten, but I could set it to add or screen for a less drastic effect. I've used the gradient map with the blending mode set to color to colorize my smoke, so to say. And I could go in there with the sky and try out different settings. And that's what's so powerful about this workflow I'm showing you right now, that you can work non-destructively and adjust the image with a very few clicks, and yeah, you have so many options. It's amazing. Okay, so you put in the shapes and the clouds and whatever, and later on you can adjust the whole style and the whole meaning or emotion of your artwork. You see, I could put in some sunset gradient here and then it looks more like flames or something like this. Yeah, whatever you do, it's your choice. I think I've chosen the sunrise setting. I've set this to lighten because I really liked how this one fades out. You see the difference from lighten to screen? As you can see, screen takes every nuance of brightness into account. Lighten is a bit more drastic, so I like this one here. So let's turn this off. Now I have other effects, and in this folder, I set it to through. I have a noise layer, which I've created with filter, render, Perlin noise. And I've turned down the scale, like that. And then I've set this to overlay, blending mode overlay. So overlay is a different story. It doesn't take just the light areas and applies it to the image below, like add. So if I set this to add, you see that the light areas from the noise are applied to the image, like we did with the lights here, or a bit with the smoke. If I set this to lighten, you see it's a bit different. But overlay takes the dark areas into consideration. So overlay mode is really good for applying texture to your image. But then I've turned it a bit down so it isn't too much in your face. A nice addition are the two gradients in light bluish color on top of the image that add a bit of a light effect to it. Set them to add glow. Now let's disable this folder too, and now we see that we have image with less effects, and this reflection I've made it in Blender 3D. I've just put in a cube there and projected my car image, and therefore I had a reflection that was almost accurate. So this wouldn't be easy to do in ClipStudio Paint, and that would be a content for a whole nother video. So write me in the comments if you would like to see how I did this reflection. Also, you can see how I turn on and off different layers here. What I want to show you now is a bit of an extra special, because it's not connected to blending modes. But with these two layers, I was able to create like a color switcher. And now you can drag the luminosity slider here and change between different colors for your object, whether it's a car or clothing. And now let's see what the result is. And let's turn on these layers here. And as you can see, it's just mind-blowing what we can do with these effect layers and blending modes. Wow. Okay. This green one, it's really blowing me away right now. So let's check out some other colors. This is so much fun. If you have set up your image, now you can change the colors of your car. Isn't that amazing? It's so much fun. So what are you waiting for? Just head over to the Gumroad store and get your free package of this tutorial. And also maybe you want to spend some small amount and support me and get the full HD version of this file so you can mess around with it by yourself. I would really appreciate it. It's only $4. I hope you enjoyed this video, it was helpful for you, and be sure to check out my Instagram account where I update regularly, and also subscribe to this channel if you want to see more tutorial videos like this. And yeah, be sure to also check out the ClipStudio Tips of the Month entry and give me a like there. The link is below in the description. If you have any questions or feedback for me, I would really love to hear it. So have a nice day. See you later. Soul Stinger out.